what's up, babies? Survivor Boys is my channel. We're gonna do some writing. I'm looking forward to it. I'm in a good mood today. It's been a good day for me. I'm just in a nice, relaxed, chill place right now. Probably because I've been having a good day as far as getting ready. I've mentioned it before. Pretty sure I mentioned it before, but at this stage when I'm recording this, when we're streaming here, and if you're watching the YouTube afterwards when I'm recording this, I'm a little over 2 weeks out from a fight, a Muay Thai kickboxing fight. And there's naturally a lot of stresses that are involved with that. Whether you realize that you're stressed out or not, there's stresses involved with that. But today's been a good day because I'm 2.5 weeks out, and I'm only 3 pounds away from the weight that I need to weigh in at, and that's without doing any sort of hardcore weight cut or anything. Which means with those weeks out, I'm borderline ready to walk in there without having to cut water weight at all, which is, if it were a professional fight, I'd be in trouble because I'd be fighting people who are good at weight cutting and would be able to cut out like 10 pounds of water weight, weigh in, and then rejuvenate and be fighting at like 165 rather than 155. But for this event, it's just an amateur day of amateur fight with day of weigh-ins, meaning that no one's really going to be cutting that much weight. So if I can be going in just walking at the weight that I need to, it'll be a good situation because I won't be fighting someone massively bigger than me, and I'll be going into it feeling very, very well rested and well fueled, rather than walking into it feeling super drained and tired and ready to die before I even get in the ring. So it's a good day. It's a good day with that. I mean, like I say, 2.5 weeks and only about 3 pounds to cover. Geez, I might be able to get rid of all that just by diet alone. So it's a good day. It's a good day. So I'm sorry I'm starting late. Work is, it's work. Always busy. My job these days is kind of defined by a constant state of having to deal with a handful of problem children that just need lots of babysitting. Not literal children. I work with companies. But there are a handful of problem children, facilities that just, no matter what guidance you give them, no matter how much you hold their hand, they just can't seem to get a hang of it. And maybe it's all about the individuals I have to work with. Maybe it's some sort of systemic thing at those facilities. I don't know what it is, but they give me struggles all the time, and I'm dealing with that today. So that wasn't so great. But the good news is I did figure out a certain amount of it without it being too much of an issue. So Hey, Sockfuzz, glad to see you here. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. You as well, Chris Cost. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, no, it's like I don't explicitly work customer service, but boy, oh boy, a lot of times it can sure feel that way. Just having to deal with people who just like you do everything you can to help them. You do everything you can, and whether it's by obstinance or just sheer inability to grasp what you're giving them, they just can't get it. They just can't get it. So, hey, yeah. No, I do every day I stream. I do at least a certain amount of like D&D homebrew writing. We've got a long form campaign that we're working on, and today we're gonna work on. I just have this ongoing project of creating like rune and enchantment versions of all of the spells, and it's just something that I do that's creative and fun. So glad to have you here. Yeah, it's good times. It's good times. Oh yeah, no, there's definitely some people that just don't they always need to have something to like fight. They're always looking for something. They're like they're compulsively defiant, and it always drives me insane. always drives me insane. It's like, why are you fighting this? Why are you being difficult? But I don't know. All that aside, I managed to get things straight, and at least for the time being, the ducks are in a row. People are taken care of, and we can move on with my life. Move on, schmish my schmife, and do something fun for a change. Let's go ahead and do that. Something fun. So, okay. So we were working with last time we were working on this project, we were working on the level 2 abjuration spells and turning those into like runes and everything. So I'm just gonna keep doing that because it's freaking fun, and that's what I want to do. I just like I don't know. Today's the type of day when being creative comes easy. It's like it's kind of chilly, but not like horrifyingly cold, which is really nice because I'm doing all this weight cut stuff right now. So it's really nice that I'm not freezing my nads off right now. But like rainy days when you're just inside and you can like hear the pitter patter of raindrops and stuff like that, it puts me in that mood. Just kind of be creative. And so a little project like this is gonna be great. It's gonna be perfect. It is always good. It's definitely an improvement, and that's been a hard thing. It's been a hard thing for me cutting down weight because in the past year I went from 220 and I am now this morning I weighed in at 158. So I have a lot less insulation than I'm used to, and it's doing that during winter is an adjustment, to say the absolute least. And I'm happy for it, but also I'm freaking cold. Oh gosh, that sucks. That's always the worst, especially when people are blaming you and yelling at you for something that's not your fault. Viscos, that sucks. And I have had that. I've had a guy hang up on me. So I do air quality regulations type stuff. And I had a guy hang up on me and get just so mad at me because he was mad that there were potholes in the dirt road. And his thought was that it kicks up dust, so air quality must have an issue with that. And it's like, it's a dirt road, dude. You have to talk to city commission. Like I don't do potholes. That's not what my job is. I can't do anything. You got to call road commission, man. And yeah, people are wild. People are wild. Nice. I used to do a lot of weight training a few years ago. I used to be really into like weightlifting and weight training. And I've stepped away from a lot of that just because I've been getting so ingrained in my Muay Thai kickboxing. And with Muay Thai, you don't really care about muscle mass. It's more about just that fast twitch and those reactives. So I haven't been doing much weight training these days. I basically go rock climbing as body weight lifting is what I do. But I used to do weight training, and there's something really satisfying about, like, I always in my brain when I was doing a workout, like it was like I had this mental checklist, and it felt so good to go through each set, each rep, and like check it off the list and like get to the end of it and have like this kind of full completed checklist. I always used to find it really satisfying. I always just really find it super satisfying. But I highly recommend kickboxing. I'm maybe a little biased because I do it and I'm really and I have a lot of fun with it. But I think it's excellent, and I think if you find the right gym, it can handle any pace you want to do. Like, are you it's like, do you want to compete? Then they can provide that. If you just do it as like a hobby, they can provide that. Like a good gym will have whatever it is you're looking for. And I think there's something when it comes to the grind, to the discipline involved in it. I think there's something for anyone to gain from it. So I'm a huge proponent of kickboxing. I know for me in my life, there's a continual trend that when I'm not training, there's like I'm much more likely to be super depressed. But then, like, it's been a trend. It's happened a couple times that like I've been super depressed and then got back into training, and then almost immediately after, my mental health just like skyrocketed because just the confidence it gives you, the grind of it, just like giving you something to focus on. It's just amazing. And I think that's not limited to kickboxing. I think, weight training or any sport or anything anything that you can do that gets your mind in the moment and gives you something to focus on can help with that. And I think that's why things like kickboxing and rock climbing speak to me, because there's no room to be thinking about anything else except for what you're doing in that moment. If your mind wanders while you're kickboxing, you get punched in the face. If your mind wanders while you're rock climbing, you fall. So it's like having that grind and that thing that pulls me out of whatever death loop my brain is in can be such a helpful thing. So, oh, I bet, yeah, I bet with having that to contend with, I can imagine. I'm fortunate, and I don't have any issues to that level. For me, it's just constant depression that's always looming. But we all have our struggles, and I think just having something to focus your energies towards for anyone can be such a beneficial thing. But the point is, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, I guess. But the point is, yes, definitely try kickboxing. I highly recommend. If you can find a good gym, absolutely. It's a wonderful, wonderful sport with something for everyone. But holy crap, I'm supposed to be doing some writing, aren't I? Okay, let's pull up our spell list and let's just make some freaking like runes and enchantments. It's so much fun. My players love it too. Like, that's the best part about this, is my players absolutely love it. Explain the system I have. Yes, absolutely. We'll do an example. We'll go ahead and grab one and do it in an example with it. Yeah, let's see here. I need my advanced filters. We have a random question, Amy Chibi. Then ask it. Yes. No, I feel it. I love these discussions. I love having these discussions. If anyone wants me to discuss Muay Thai, it does not take much to get me on that topic and to get me to stay on that topic. I'm more than a little obsessed. No doubt about that. No problem at all. Let's see. Our spell level. We're on the 2nd level spells at this, I believe. Yeah. Filter those spells. Okay, yeah, we just did Aid. So we're going to go ahead and do Arcane Lock. What do I think is the best way to make an artificer have 4 metallic arms? Okay, you're trying to make Doc Ock. Okay. I mean, so I guess the best way is to have a DM who's willing to play fast and loose with things in the first place. If I'm DMing for someone who wants to do something like that, my thought is, what we can do is we can sort of just flavor it that way. Yeah, exactly. Chris Goss has it right. Exactly. Like Jinx right there. Exactly. I would say talk to your DM and make sure that the game that they're trying to play will, like, how they like the world that they're playing, that you're in, and everything like that. Make sure that, like, what you're trying to do jives with what their particular rule system is and what their particular judgment calls and everything are. But beyond that, like, assuming that works, like, if I'm a DM and someone approaches me with that, my first thought is start with the artificer and have them sort of invent those things, and then and then have it be primarily flavor for a while as they're, like, inventing this thing, right? And then what I would say is start multi-classing with monk and have the hands. Now, and granted, this is all flavor. This is not sitting down and figuring out how to min-max and make sure it's like a properly, like, a well-balanced, well-functioning. This is just 100% trying to make the flavor come to life. Multi-class with monks, so that way you can use those key points to simulate all of them hands coming in and attacking and doing stuff, is what I would say. Because the hard part, the sticking point, is going to be if you're trying to use all of those hands as, like, functional hands that can hold a weapon at the same time. That's when it starts breaking things a little bit. And it's going to take a lot of work to figure that out. But if you're just content with flavor and have them be like a bunch of fists that come in and beat people up all at once, I would say Artificer multi-class with Monk and just go nuts with those key points. Like, that's what I would, as a knee-jerk reaction, say, without having spent any time at all trying to balance and understand exactly how the mechanics would come about. That's what I would say. You're welcome. You're more than welcome. I think it's a really creative idea, and I do love the idea of Doc Ock being there. That's remarkably similar to a player I once had that tried to make, successfully made, a Warforged that that was basically Inspector Gadget. And it was like one of the coolest ideas I have ever had. And I was like, absolutely, we'll figure out how to make that work. I absolutely want like 100% robot Inspector Gadget in my game. That sounds fabulous. So I love creative ideas. I love creative ideas, and the more chaos they induce in a game, the better. Like that's my thing. Yeah, it does. It was amazing. It was an amazing thing. I miss that character. I miss that character a lot. I keep forgetting Arcane Lock. Okay, that's what we're working on. Arcane Lock. Certain actions, attacks, on their charisma because they look so different. Ooh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Have it be something like based on, you can almost do it like based on their alignment, or like something where it's like depending on the alignment of the other person or the personality of the other person, you either get advantage or disadvantage on charisma, because some people might look at it and be like, whoa, that's super cool. And other people might look at it and be like, you're a witch. And like, just, you know, want to go for the burn at the stake option. Which is something that's been heavily on my mind because my sister is currently vacationing in Salem, which is an amazing vacation. It's such an amazing vacation idea, and I'm jealous I didn't think. But yeah, okay. Let's see here. So let's make a. So we're working on making. This is just a creative project that I like to do, and I do use it for my players. My players love it. My players have a ton of fun with this system. Basically what the system is, so first off, just for those of you unfamiliar with this project that I work on, basically what I do is I go through all of the spells as they are. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's really cold there right now, and for that reason I'm glad I'm not there this time of year, no doubt. But this system, so basically what it is, it was born off of me getting frustrated when my options for giving players better items was to either just like, well, basically my only option for giving them better items was to make them abandon cool items that they had created for the sake of the flavor of their character, right? Like, so many players come in with this idea of like, yes, I'm a paladin who carries the shield and the sword of my grandfather, right? And it's like they have these cool items that have all this like story behind them. And then it's like the first time they find like a, yes, it's absolutely, it's an imbibement. I call it imbibement, but an imbuing. It's really enchantment or runes. But you know, it's like copyright. No, I don't know. I go with imbibement. But yes, that's absolutely what this is. Because it was born of this idea that like it sucked that players would have these cool flavor-based items and weapons and everything and armor. And then it was like first time they found a +1 sword of kind of okayness, they were like, screw you, grandpa, I don't want your sword no more. And they would like ditch it, right? And I always felt like that was such a letdown, right? Because they took this time to create this cool character that had like this flavor and this like aesthetic that like that made that character so unique, you know? And so I always felt terrible about like the option was either they use their crappy starting gear or they ditch it and get some other cool item. So I started kind of workshopping this idea of ways that players could, like, you know, improve their weapons and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, yes, the Toy Story. I don't want to play with you anymore. God, stuff of nightmares, that right there. 100%. 100%. But yeah, like it started off as just a way for them to like make their own weapons, like +1 or something like that. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's very, very inspired and influenced the system that I have by the Pathfinder rune system. 100%. 100% it is, because the idea is that players can find runes with these spells and then use those to advance their items. And that's like where the idea kind of grew from, because it kind of started off as just being like a way to make your hammer a +1 hammer. You should 100% steal this idea. I love the fact that people like this idea. I am very honored to know that other people are incorporating some or all of it in their games, because I think it's so much fun. Because yeah, it's like I started thinking, I was like, well, I mean, like if we're gonna let them make it like a +1 or something like that, why not make it so that it can sometimes do fire damage or something, or make it so that it can do this, that, or the other thing? Like, why not do that kind of stuff? And it just kind of grew from there. And I started, you know, and so then it just kind of became like, well, what if like a non-magic user could have a way to, you know, if they put in the work to craft and enchant or spend the money to craft and enchant something, could have the power of some of those spells going into their weapons or into their armor, or like as a grenade or whatever they want to do, like a reusable item, so that they could have like access to these things. And it just kind of grew from there, and it's turned into a project that I love. And it's really fun because it gives players the chance to sort of build their own legendary weapons. It's like, I always think about that scene in Kung Fu Panda when he goes into the hallway and there's all those legendary items. It's like, rather than finding the items, the players get to make those items. And then it's like you could do a callback in future campaigns where it's like they find their own old weapon that is now a museum piece or something like that, is the idea. And they can just like make it to their specifications. Want to be a fire lord? Then yes, you have a sword that catches fire and like burns people and sends them to hell. It's like, yeah, that's awesome. It's rad. Magical item that allows people to change gender. I have not made that. I wouldn't be opposed to it. If someone really wants to do that, I mean, it's a world of magic. They can do whatever they want. I've not given it much thought, personally. I would never force that on a player's character. Like, I try to not take away agency from a player's character any chance that I get. Like, it always feels kind of, I mean, like, to a certain degree, in the middle of battle, it's like if they're charmed or something like that. But like, something that would like change, like permanently, like fundamentally change their character, I shy away from that kind of stuff. It feels a little controlling. So I've never really given much thought to that personally. But if a player approached me and wanted to do it, yeah, I would do that. So Agents of Edgewatch, non-lethal damage. Yeah. You could definitely use these types of things to do non-lethal stuff. Like a lot of the spells that are more binding in nature and stuff like that. That would be a really good way to do that. Yeah, I think you have the right of it. I think gender tends to not be like a mechanic so much as just like flavor. So it's like up to players to do that. Keep magic close to science or separate from so kind of both. The world that I have, my homebrew world, magic is essentially like, magic is a form of energy. And so when someone's casting magic, all they're doing is using themselves as a conduit to take the energy and form it into a result. And so the idea is that you can either do that through natural ability or through something that you create. And so like in the world of D&D, it takes form of like magic, but the idea is that, you know, there might be another planet within the same galaxy, and I do have a homebrew, like a homemade world-built galaxy that this world of mine that I do my D&D stuff does exist in. The idea is that there could be other technology that would do the same thing. And so it in that way, it's kind of sciencey, but it's definitely flavored to feel very sort of like traditional high magic type of situation. So, you know, kind of both, I guess. I don't know. It's its own thing. Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you have a world where there's like an actual function of like, you know, just like a societal role of gender or something like that, and there you could incorporate stuff like that. But that, again, to me, that kind of feels like it falls under the purview of less of an item that would cause or force it to happen, and more so a way that players could incorporate. Like, it would be something that if a player approached me and wanted to utilize it for the sake of like their character's personal story or something like that, I'd be like, sure, we can incorporate something like that. If that's what's going to make the game meaningful to you, then absolutely. But yeah, those types of things that like fundamentally change a player character is stuff that I'm like, you know, I'm not going to approach players with that. I'm going to give them an existing problem in the world that they can then encounter and deal with. I'm not going to force them to become like, you know, I'm not gonna change them. I'm more so gonna give them the opportunity to change the world around them. And that's just my approach. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it. But yeah, exactly. For roleplay, if a player wanted it, 100%. For a mechanic, an item that I would do, or like a trap or something, yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do that. Especially because that's such a sticky topic too, depending on the crew. Like, I only ever play with friends, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. But especially if I were like leading a group that I, you know, put an ad out for online or something like that, it's such a sticky topic. I don't know. I feel like it can get charged real fast doing that kind of stuff. So definitely best to just let the players drive that rather than me as the DM, you know, impose it on people. But all right, let's go ahead and do an example of this. So first thing, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and show some of the like some of the rules that I hold myself to. So one of the things that I do is, because I this project will eventually incorporate every spell of every level, like there's a certain level of like rarity and commonality behind finding like a rune or an item with these enchantments or imbibements in them, that I like to adhere to. And basically it kind of starts off with like, if it's a cantrip, right? If it's a cantrip spell, it's like, you know, as I have it written here, it's a worker's tool. So common items, so accessible to most, though perhaps a little pricey. It's not uncommon for middle-class commoners to be able to afford an item of this nature if they budget and save for a few months. The utilitarian and often make jobs easier and safer, such as protective items for hard laboring jobs or items that sharpen the mind of accountants. Can be found browsing through general store shelves, no special name, often produced in bulk. Right, so these are just like your run-of-the-mill, like, oh yeah, that's like, whenever there's like an alarm spell, that's kind of one of these things. It's like, yeah, you could go to the store and buy an alarm spell, so that way you could put an alarm on the, you could find like a stone of alarm that creates like a little circle that would cast alarm, and you just like place that on the inside of the door of your shop at night when you lock up, right? And so it's like that'll, trigger an alarm. You can do stuff like that. Those are like common stuff. Efficiency tiers. Yeah. No, you're totally right. It's like I say, it's very much inspired by and by the rune system in Pathfinder, because I actually am a player in a Pathfinder game, so it's something that we use quite a bit. And it just kind of makes me think like, man, not only could this be cooler, but we could use this in like any game. Why is this limited to Pathfinder here? So no, you've got the right of it. You got the right of it. But then when we get up to like level 9, it's like, these are the enchantments of the gods themselves. An item of this magnitude is respected and feared by the gods themselves. Their powers defy the rules of reality and can shape existence itself. Most mortals cannot even wield an item so powerful, let alone use it to effect. Many would try out of hubris, but find themselves suffering unfathomable consequences as their very being struggle to survive the power. Only the gods can truly make and harness the powers of these items. Items are only made by the gods themselves. If a mortal wishes to create something like this, they must first earn the favor of a higher god, and then survive having the god channeled through them. In some situations, it may even be that the god must be sacrificed for an item to be imbued at this level. The names of these items typically reflect those of the gods who wield them, right? So it's like, there's levels to this. There's different tiers that like that come into play here. And so I kind of use that to just sort of like help myself understand exactly like, okay, when should I incorporate in this game? How often should my players find this? As well as just kind of understanding, because I also always, when I create an enchantment, I like to also put on like write down just sort of an example item that one might find of this type of thing, and it's like, then I can find those items and I can, at a later time, if I want to, put them in a shop, or if it's like a level 9 thing, just like turn that into a campaign idea all in and of itself, right? So I do that to kind of keep myself consistent with stuff. Yeah, the cursed and sentient. That's my favorite part of it. Okay, so again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big fan of anything in D&D that increases the amount of chaos that happens, particularly in battles. I guess less so in roleplay. I like roleplay to be a bit more under control, just for the sake of me keeping track of what shenanigans my players are up to. If they get a little too wild and crazy with it, I'm like, all right, guys, you got to dial it in a little bit. I can't keep track of these 18 new NPCs that you have adopted when they were supposed to just be, hobo Dave sitting on the street. But like when it comes to battle, I love chaos. I love when half of the building is on fire and there's people, tied to the ground, and like one person has been charmed and has betrayed their teammates. And it's like, I love when it's the Community meme where Troy walks in and everything is just going straight to hell in a handbasket. I love when battles look exactly like that. For example, this Monday, we were, when I was running my game with my crew, they entered a battle. They were on a cliffside, and a couple of them were up top on the cliffside and got into a fight with a bunch of territorial Bloodhawks, right? And so the Bloodhawks are dive bombing them all over the place. One of them is like actively trying to steal the eggs rather than trying to kill the Bloodhawk. One of them didn't climb up and was instead trying to befriend the giant lizards down below, and so was running around collecting the bodies of the hawks, trying to feed them to the giant lizards. And it was just complete pandemonium, and I could not have been happier about it. It was one of my favorite battles they've ever done because there was no danger involved. It was just them being complete and utter insane people in a completely and utterly insane situation, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Wild tables, I agree. Wild tables are a beautiful thing. Anytime I've ever played a mage, 100%, like, or a magic user, 100% wild magic. Every time. And I always tell the DM, I'm like, I want you to do that wild magic table ad nauseum. I want pure chaos when I cast spells. I want my guy to have no idea what he's doing, and I want everything to be exploding around him at all times. Like, that's what I want, because I think that's hilarious. That makes do make good omelets, and that's what he keeps doing. He did that with snake eggs before, and now he's gonna do it with bloodhawk eggs. We've basically created a homebrew system where they're just like less powerful healing potions for him to just like make eggs and pull in all It's Always Sunny and be like, may I offer you an egg in these trying times. We've essentially turned it into that, and it cracks me up. A barb with wild magic. There's always more fun to be had with wild magic. Always more fun. So with all that in mind, with my complete and utter passion for chaos and insanity in D&D, whenever my players, because the point of this whole thing too is so that players, when they have the rune, can use their downtime to craft their items, right? I don't let them just like pile that crap on there for free. It's like, no, you got to go through downtime and you got to do some crafting for it. And so in the process of doing that, depending on how good or bad they are at magic, there's a greater or lesser chance of the item either becoming sentient or becoming cursed, because I think that's hilarious. And doing so can, and usually will, create tangible effects. Sentience being like minor effects, and curse being really big effects that have drawbacks, right? And so that's what it is. And so I just kind of have some basic templates that I sometimes stray from depending on the nature of the spell. But the basic idea is if it becomes sentient, we just kind of roll on for the alignment table to just see what kind of alignment this sentient item has. If it leans good, it does something extra that's good for the user. But if it's evil, it does something extra that's bad for others. So either way, it'll still help the user, but one of them, it's more like helping and building up, and the other way, it's like cutting down and being a jackass. If it's lawful, it does something that focuses the effect, so a lot of times it'll be a bit narrower but more effective. Whereas if it's chaotic, it's broadness, so it'll be wider, a bit more chaotic, and a little less powerful. So it'll impact more people, like, you know, as an example, but a little less so. So stuff like that all the time. I think a sentient weapon can have a big effect. I ask the user to do a particular list of things before the weapon agrees. Full power. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like, because that's like, this is just like as a baseline there. But then if players want to get like even wackier with things, like the idea is that the item does have its own mindset that will lean based on whatever that is, and so it may do exactly stuff like that. You know, and it's like it can like grow in power. And my thought is always too, if you have a sentient item, even if you continue to change and modify the enchantments, right, like it'll still be sentient. And then if you just happen to roll again on the sentience, then it's just like this new embodiment has changed the personality of it, right? So it's like it'll still do that. So it's like you're giving the weapon, you're giving the sentient thing more power if you continue to enchant and build upon that weapon. So absolutely, it's a fluid thing. And like all of this is meant to be a fluid thing that you would work with the players. You know, so like I put down examples of what the spell would do, but if they have a different idea on how they want to do it, I'd be like, yeah, sure. Because like, and that plays into how I handle magic in my world, because like I say, magic is an energy. It's something that ebbs and flows, and casting magic isn't a like it's not like magic is a deck of cards and there only exists specific cards. Magic is something that flows and that ebbs and flows, and you influence it. And so instead of, so like casting a known spell is like following a recipe. There are steps you can follow to create a known thing, but just like with cooking, you can also just kind of get creative with it, and you can, you know, experiment and modify things. So it's like if players wanted to do something that's a little off books, I'd be like, sure, let's find a way to keep it balanced, and let's do it. to a point where the item can have a humanoid body, like Bicentennial Man. If my players wanted to get that creative with it, I would 100% let that happen. I think that sounds amazing. Like the item slowly builds up into its own Warforged or something like that. 100%. I would totally allow that. It's not a baseline idea, but if my players approach me with that, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds rad. Let's do it. Do they stack or just one and then get replaced? My thought is always they can stack, but you have to pay attention to what things you're stacking because the items might influence each other. For example, if you put a fire, like a rune that does fire damage, but then do something that also does like a water effect or something like that, the water might douse the fire and make it so that the fire's not all that effective anymore, right? Or, you know, if you do fire, but then like if you have something that does entangling, but then it also does fire, like it'll just burn away the you know, the roots or the vines or whatever come out, right? So it's like they can stack, and if players are attentive and they want to take the time to like study the magic, right, in their downtime, then they can you know, learn how to make more or less powerful items based on that. And that's again like the fluidity of it and what makes it so fun to sort of like experiment and create these ideas, and why I love that I've added this thing to my game. So someone wants to play Alphonse Elric. I'm 100% into it. Yeah, exactly. Create a humanoid body. Must have equal. What is it? The equal exchange. How much does a soul? What's the cost of a soul? Right? Something like that. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've watched it. But gosh, that's a solid reference right there. I like that one. Unreal from Elder Scrolls. Yeah. Convince people to take over the realm and then split itself into a humanoid creature in the sword. Yeah. No, for sure. My thought is always, and this just shows where my head is at all the time. The really sassy, sarcastic guns and shields that you can get in Borderlands. That's what I always think of. Where it's like the shield has, like, you know, there's that one where it's like the robot and you can like turn it into a shield or a gun after trying to turn it into the other things, and it's like super unhappy with it. Like, that's what I always think of. I always think of that stuff. It cracks me up. I gotta play those games again. I gotta play Tina. I gotta play Tina's, what is it, like Adventureland or whatever it's called. I know that dropped, and it's unfortunate that it dropped so soon after Arceus and Elden Ring and all these other amazing games that are coming out right now, because I really want to play that one too. My backlog is just getting longer and longer and longer, and it hurts. It hurts. But okay, let's see. So we've kind of gone over what the system is here. Let's actually make something here. And let's go ahead and do it with Arcane Lock here. Oh yeah, the budget too. No kidding. I just had to get a new phone, so naturally I spent like an entire paycheck on that shit. Because the economy's broken. But at least now my phone won't overheat while I need GPS directions, because I'm in a town that I don't know where the heck I am for work. That happened multiple times on my old phone. It would like get confused and like it would overheat trying to reconnect to the phone system, and then it would just shut itself down because it was overheating. And I'm sitting there in like a city that I have no idea where, like, I've never been to in my life, and I'm just sitting there like, I have an appointment in 10 minutes. I need my instructions. Like, even if you can't give me GPS, I need that list of directions on what road to take. And not fun. So, you know, priorities, I guess. Okay, so Arcane Lock. Touch a closed door, window, gate, chest, or other entryway, and it becomes locked for the duration. You and the creatures you designate when you cast the spell can open the object normally. You can also set a password that, when spoken within 5 feet of the object, suppresses the spell for 1 minute. Otherwise, it is impassable until it is broken or the spell is dispelled or suppressed. Casting Knock on the object suppresses the arcane lock for 10 minutes. While affected by this spell, the object is more difficult to break or force open. DC to break it or pick any locks on it increases by 10. Okay, I have an idea for this one. So sometimes with these spells, based on the way they're written, there's going to be restrictions on what type of item it can be, imbued on. Sometimes it's weapons, sometimes it's armor, sometimes you can do both depending on the way it's written, and sometimes it's just other objects of a specific nature. So my first thought with this one is any object that can be attached to a door or a wall or something like that, right? So it's like if they create something that's like sticky and can be done like that, or if they do something that has like a hanger and can be hung on a handle or something like that. That's what my first thought is. So it's any object that can be attached to a door. And in theory, if a player wanted to, I would 100% allow it to be a wedge of wood that they stick under like it's a door jamb, right? Or if they wanted to, if they wanted to do something like that, or like a rock or a pebble that can be placed against the door. Hell, if they wanted to, they could put it on their sword, and it's like, okay, but you have to lean the sword against the door, right? It almost turns into like an immovable rod type of situation. But my first thought is anything that can be attached to a door, like something that can have contact with a door of its own volition, right, without you holding it. So, yeah, heating up phones are the worst, especially because like we all keep our phones in cases so that our beautiful, super expensive phones don't get busted, but then it makes it even harder for them to cool off. It's a nightmare. Okay, so that's what my first thought is. So we're gonna say on any item that can be attached to a door. We'll do it like that. And then do I still have it? Yes, I do still have it copied. Get rid of that junk because I don't want to cite my sources. We all know where it came from. This is all like I'm doing the spells. I'm making no secret of it. So you touch it. Okay, so we get, and so basically what I'll do is I'll just go through here and I'll just kind of massage the language as needed to kind of turn it into an enchantment as opposed to a spell. So for this one, so it's like you touch a closed door. So instead it's going to be you place the imbued item against a closed door, window, gate, chest, or other entryway, and it becomes locked for the duration. And so what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and double check here. So the duration is, what was that again? Until dispelled. Okay, fair enough. So and what we'll say is it becomes locked until the item is removed. Locked until the item is removed. You and the creatures you designate when you cast the spell can open the object normally. So this is one that can be kind of tough. Trying to figure out, because it's like if you have to select targets that are like immune. So we'll say you and the creatures you designate when you play. We'll just say when you place the object. When you place. We'll say when you place the item and open the object normally. So we'll do it like that. With armor straps for it to not be easily unequipped too. Oh yeah. If you wanted to do that, I don't know that I've encountered a situation though where that would be. Like, I don't know that and I'm not saying that it couldn't happen or wouldn't happen in a game, but I don't know that I've ever been in a situation where a player's armor like kept falling off or something. It's an interesting idea though. It's an interesting idea. Like if a player wanted to, it would be fun to offer this and offer them the option to do that. If you were playing a campaign where it's like, it's almost like a Monster Hunter style thing where it's like they can get information and research what creature they're going up against, right? And so it's like half of the adventure is preparing for that monster and then going and hunting it or something. That would be a really interesting way to do it, and a really interesting campaign idea. Like a fridge magnet, you can slap on a door when you want. I mean, in theory, yes. There wouldn't be fridge magnets in my world because it's very much, your standard high fantasy world. But as a concept, 100%. 100%. Oh, so it did happen to you. That's funny. I mean, like, not for you in the moment, but in general, that's funny. I like that. Like, that's true. That would be a really good driver of like in-session drama and stuff like that. It'd be a really good way too for the DM. If it's you as the DM, it'd be a really good way to sort of force your players' hands towards going somewhere that you want to do. It's like it's a subtle way to like it's a more subtle way than saying, well, this is the direction that the story goes, so you have to go there, right? That's a good way to direct your players a little bit. Yeah, absolutely, it would be a good subplot. Yeah, that's true. Actually, you could have it be like an entire. I mean, half of the campaign for my group, they had something stolen from them early on, and like just of their own volition. Like, I only did it just because they tried to get smarmy with a guy. And the dice rolls had the guy get the upper hand, so we stole something valuable from them. It was a book with a whole bunch of treasure hunting leads that they wanted. And so they then spent the next like 20 sessions chasing this guy, and they were super into it. And so I was like, all right, we'll keep having him be like, oh, he made it out the back door. Like, we kept doing it, and they kept being into it, and they kept loving it. So I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Let's stick with it. And yeah, so like it turned into a really big subplot. So it can absolutely be a driver for story. It's a really good idea. Oh, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. Having to rethink how you play your character. That's a really interesting idea. That's something that would be really fun as the DM to sort of enforce on players, like give them some sort of handicap they're not used to, so they have to think about their characters differently. I do like that idea. I do that type of stuff a lot just by giving them a wide variety of different monster types, right? And it's like for each section of a campaign, I'll kind of think of a different theme of enemies, right? So each enemy has like different strengths and weaknesses, but then I'll stick with those types throughout like that section of the campaign. So that way they can kind of learn and like adjust how they approach their battles and everything. So murder hobo always shows up eventually. We all turn into murder hobos eventually. Sooner or later, it happens to all of us. There's no avoiding it. There is no avoiding it. Eventually, you get to a point where you're like, wait, I've got plot armor and a big weapon. I'm killing everything. Like, everyone has that period. Everyone has that period. All right, let's see. Let's keep working on this. You can also set a password that, when spoken within 5 feet of the object, suppresses the spell for 1 minute. Yep, I'm just going to change spell to effect for 1 minute, just because that way it's a little, it keeps it clear that we're not casting the spell. Otherwise, it is impassable until it is broken, or the spell is, or the, we'll just say the object is removed or suppressed. Or the object is removed or suppressed. Casting knock on the object suppresses the arcane lock for 10 minutes. Yeah, we can keep that there. That's just a functionality of it. While affected by the spell, the object is more difficult to break or force open. Yep, 100%. We'll just say by this enchanted item. I'm just going to change this just to make it a bit more clear. The portal, because we're talking about an object impacting an object, it can get really unclear. It's kind of like if you're talking about a conversation between 3 dudes and you just keep saying he, him, right? It gets really confusing. So while affected by this enchanted item, the portal is more difficult to break or force open. The DC to break it or pick any locks on it increases by 10. Yep, perfect. We can leave it exactly that. For defensive ranger, place of a cleric with source of spells, telling people things. Oh, nice. Nice. I like that flavor. I feel like that's like, it's like defined enough to really make a strong character, but not to the point of it being like crippling. Like it's not like a gimmick, right? It's like an actual character trait. A lot of times players will kind of get a little too detailed with these types of things, too detailed and too intense, and it turns into a gimmick. You know, like someone, like I had one person who was once like, yeah, I'm a dwarf that's obsessed with gold, and like literally would never do anything unless it could be worth gold, but then would also literally would do anything for gold. Like, it's like 1 piece of gold, kill my, fight and try to kill my teammates I've been traveling with for months. Sure thing. And it was like, okay, all right, we're getting a little memey with it. But I like that idea. I think it's really creative. All right, let's see here. So while this effect is a chain item, portal is more difficult to break or force open. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's all we need to do for it. I think it's exactly right there. And so now let's go ahead and just make a sample item. I've been kind of using that up here rather than just like offering a description of it. Instead, I've been giving an example of it. And so I'm gonna call this the item is called the arcane doorstop. It's because as soon as I said doorstop, I'm like, oh, I would love to have a doorstop where it's just like a little one of them wood block wedges that you just like shove under the door, and it's like I absolutely love that. Now just to make sure that I'm keeping things consistent here. This is a level 2 specialist equipment. These items are things commonly used by specialists. Healing item for a town doctor or a sailing item for a ship captain are good examples. They aren't especially rare, but they are items that would be too expensive for an average person to buy. More of a business investment that may be sold with a business should someone wish to retire. Can be found on the shelves of specialty stores. No special names. Might be produced in bulk, but the batch would be split. So it's like this is something that like a wealthy shop owner, right? Someone who like peddles in magic items or something like that would like purchase or have commissioned, something like that. So we'll say the arcane doorstop, and it'll just be specialized wood block doorstop that is enchanted with the arcane lock spell. When wedged under a door, we'll just say cast. Well, no, under the door imposes the effects on said door. They're very popular among store owners of shops that deal in fine and expensive items such as magical items or jewelry. So stuff like that. Pescatarian. Okay, all right. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. I just like the complexity that you have in that character. I think that is really fun when it's like a character is actually like a realistic level of complex rather than being like flanderized from the start. I really like that. I think that's an awesome idea. Do I post my completed homebrews anywhere for others to use? It's something that I would very much like to do. I have not figured out what the best way to provide them and post them to make it easy for people to get, but it's definitely something that I've intended to do, especially when I finish the campaign that I've been working on stream. I really want to make that something that people can have access to, and I'll probably do something with Drive-Thru RPG. The problem is then, like, because I keep all my notes in like OneNote here, the hard part is finding a quick and easy way to convert it to a better format for splitting, and that's more than anything, it's just a matter of time. So like I have a lot of stuff, like I do really want to do that. I really would like to do that. And I think it'll get easier for me, you know, like I was talking about, I have a fight coming up. Once I'm done with that, like my life right now is kind of divided into two parts: before the fight and then after the fight. Because once I'm after the fight, then I'm free up to focus on a whole lot of other things, especially when it comes to the goals I have for this year, which include finishing and distributing like the campaign and stuff. So it's like, I got about 2.5 weeks to get through that part, and then I'm going to be free up to really start diving into like figuring out how I can do these other things. So keep bothering me about it, because I really want to do it, and I don't want to let myself get lazy about it. Because I do really want to like share these ideas. Like for me, the satisfaction is creating these things so that people can people can use it, you know, whether it's they take it and make changes for their own campaign, get different parts. Like my idea too is with this full campaign, be able to like distribute it in chunks. So if people are just like, if people really want just like, oh, well, I really like that one part of the campaign that I used and it would really fit my series, they can just get like that part and make it like, you know, a la carte or something like that. And they can just like download the parts they want. Yeah, there's a few different sites. I think the one that just the way that I write things, when it comes to like copyright concerns and stuff like that, I think for me, the best option is probably going to end up being Drive-Thru RPG, because you can like just the nature of how I write, it kind of naturally fits within the rules, right? All I would have to do is just like change a couple titles and place names and stuff like that to fit the copyright rules and stuff like that. But that's probably the one that I'll end up going for. But like I say, it's like for right now, it's like all my spare time is going towards training and getting ready for my fight in 2.5 weeks. And then for the first week or two after that, it's like I'm gonna sit around and play video games. I'm gonna get fat. And then after that, after that, we're diving into a lot of these other goals and projects that I've set for myself. So like I say, keep bothering me about it. Like, it gives me motivation when people are like, hey, you said you want to do this. Are you going to still do this? It's like, because the answer is yes, I still want to do it. I just have to remember what my priorities are. And it helps me to know that people are still like interested and that's what they want, right? Like that helps keep me focused and motivated on the right stuff. So don't let me off the hook. Keep bothering me. All right, let's see here. So now's the fun part. If you have a sentient item like this, right? So if it's good, something beneficial for the user. So my first thought about this is so something beneficial is very stubborn and determined to protect the user's wishes or whatever, like belongings or whatever. So it's like very stubborn to do that. Increases the DC to break or pick the lock, we'll say by 11, right? So it makes it just a little bit, like it's just a little bit more determined. It's going to work really hard to protect your stuff, you know, or to keep that door locked for you. Whereas evil, we'll say, is super mean to people trying to break in. Will hurl insults. And I kind of want to also give it hurl insults and offer blowback damage of 1d4 to anyone trying to break the door and failing the DC check. A lot of times the evil version of it is just that it's just a bit of a dickhead. And I think that's hilarious. I think that's absolutely hilarious. So you always had that little like hurls insults and stuff. There's a little bit of blowback damage. So if someone tries to break it and like gets a miss on their DC, right? If they're trying to like lockpick or like break, particularly if they're trying to break it down, it'll just offer like a little bit of like an energy explosion that like hits the person and sends them flying or something like that, is what my thought is for that. And I immediately want to see a doorstop that just like, if someone's trying to pick the lock, it's just like, wow, you're really bad at that. You know, you should just do something else instead of trying to be a burglar, because you're garbage at it. You're so bad at being a burglar, you'd be a better police officer. You know, the opposite of a burglar. It's just a complete rude a-hole is what I love. So now if it's lawful, so this is like, so the lawful is like where it kind of narrows the effect down a little bit. And so what my thought is for this one is it's like the item is particularly adept at preventing lock pickers. And so what we'll do is DC against against lock picking is increased. Let's see, DC against lock picking is 12, but get rolling. Thank you for the follow. Let's get rolling. That's a good name for like a D&D stream. Heck yeah. It just tells you to get a job. Yeah, get a haircut, you hippie. I like that. I like that a lot. But yeah, we'll say DC against lockpicking is 12, but DC against breaking is only 8. So like it really focuses in on the lockpick type stuff. And then it's chaotic. So what would a chaotic magical doorstop do? I almost feel like it's like, how do I want to say this? Is determined to stop people even if they try to find another way in. Maybe let them in. Yeah, it does anything it wants, just lets them in. Yeah, it's just like, I don't really feel like it. No, like I say, like, the thing with sentience is I kind of like, I like it to be sort of almost the opposite of a curse, right? Whereas a curse thing will have a really powerful bonus, but will also do something bad to the user, like trying to toe that, like toe that line, of like getting a player to be willing to take, you know, some sort of punishment, in exchange for the extra powerful benefit. So with the sentience, I try to keep it more so where it's like it's a minor thing, but it's always willing to just help the player. So even if so chaotic is, it tends to end up taking more so the form of like just like really enthusiastic but a little spastic. They do D&D streams. I'll have to check it out then. Heck yeah, I'll have to check it out. And I love D&D streams. Are you kidding me? Hell yeah. But yeah, so it's like it's more so that it's just like it means really well. It means really well, but it doesn't always do what it's trying. So my idea is like for this one, determined to stop people even if they try to find another way in. DC is only increased to 5, but also impacts the nearest portal to the one it is placed on, right? So it's like if you put it there and there's also a window, it would just like, you know, it would also try to protect the window, but it's not doing as good of a job at it. Is sort of the idea that I have for it. And I think that would be really funny, because then it would be like, because like you could just see it's like they put it down there and it's like people have an easier time getting through, and you're like, God, door, like what, like doorstop, why'd you let it in there? It's like, well, I tried, but I don't know, like I didn't know if they would try to go into the window, so I was trying to stop it from there too, right? And it's like, no, they were just trying to go through the door. Like, I don't know. It's imperfect and fluid and malleable. Oh boy. So, but yeah, okay, I think that's good for sentience. So now let's do like if it's cursed here. And so my first thought about if it's cursed, increases DCs up to 15, right? So it does this really big benefit, right? Like it's a super powerful lock. But my thought is immediately, the problematic side effect is, if someone overcomes the arcane lock, it will destroy whatever it is protecting by lighting it on fire. So it's like you put it in your shop door, and it's like really effective. But if someone manages to get through it, then it's gonna light the thing on fire, because it's like no thief shall gather what's inside of here. And it just like, I don't know, like that'd be really towing the line. It's like, does it increase the DC enough that I'm confident no one would be able to break through, right? I don't know. I think it'd be funny. Of course, I'm not the one who would. Yeah, exactly. I'm not the one who would have all of my stuff destroyed. Ooh, someone I would get along with. A new friend. I always like new friends. Are you kidding me? Who doesn't love new friends? And so then also it naturally takes a little something extra to remove. We'll say must be, for this situation, since it's not something that like you wear or equip, it's something more so that like we'll just say must be ditched with the assistance of magic. If player, we'll say if owner tries to throw it away, it will light everything on fire until they give up and take it back. Sir Tiamat also likes mechanic. Yes, exactly. More chaos. We had that discussion earlier. More chaos in a game is better. More chaos is where it's at. Like, who wants everything to be organized and all the ducks in a row? No. More chaos. More chaos. All the chaos. Infinitely better. Arcane doorstop mechanic. I'm actually growing quite attached to this idea. That always happens to me when I create one of these items. I get really attached to the item. Like, I really want to put the item in the game. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I really want it to be in there. I really want to see it happen. That's like, you know, I figure, but like that's how it should be, right? It's like if you're gonna take the time to make something, you should be like passionate and excited about it. Cause like, I mean, it sounds hilarious, right? Doesn't it just like a magical doorstop? Like, God, I would totally take one of those in real life if I could have it. 100%. But yeah, so there we go. That's what I do. That's what I do for this particular project. We just make magical enchantments and magical items. And it's fun and it's goofy and it's potentially broken, but hey, you know, that's the fun of these games is you just make them whatever game you want. It's like, you know, it's like if you want rigid rules that can't be broken or anything like that, then friggin' play a video game that, you know, then play Elden Ring, right? Very staunch, strict rules, and you have to adhere to them. And that's great, and I love that too. But like D&D, it's like that's the fun of it. You can really get wild and crazy and you can just make whatever you want. Edit a Nilbog in it. Yeah, that's some chaos right there. That's some chaos right there. Hey, no problem at all, man. I appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate you being here, and I'm glad you had a good time. Heck yeah. What time is it anyway? Okay, we got a little time. Let's at least start another one. We got a little time before I gotta switch over and do my gaming stuff. But Nilbog was pain. They always are. They always are. That's how you know. That's how you know it was a well played Nilbog. That's how you know. But yeah, let's start one more. Let's start one more. I'm having fun with this. And maybe we'll finish one more. Maybe I'll do this a bit longer before I go over into gaming. Who knows? Who knows? You know? Oh, this one's gonna be really easy. Lesser Restoration. There's not much to this. It's perfect. So yeah, let's do the imbibement version of Lesser Restoration. Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there. It's a fun place, no doubt. No doubt, man. Have a good one. All right, let's see here. So let's do Lesser Restoration. Okay, yeah, this one's gonna be really easy to do. Puts a creature and can end either one disease or one condition afflicting it. The condition can be blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poisoned. This is 100%. This one can be put on anything. It can be put on anything you want, which is going to be great. It's like if you want to make it for yourself. I actually love the idea of like having like a t-shirt of Lesser Restoration and you just wear it and it's like you speak a command word and it'll like heal you and you can do that as like a bonus action in battle or something like that, or as an action in battle. Like that's immediately what my thought is for it, and I love it. So Lesser Restoration, we're just gonna make this on any item. On any item. And one thing that I forgot to mention, like it's always a baseline. I always set it this way as a baseline. But I should be better about putting it in here, especially if, you know, like we were talking about, I'm gonna eventually like distribute this for people. The baseline is always once per day. And then if people want to do it more often, if they want to enchant something and let it be more often than that, they can, but it's going to take extra work in the crafting process. Oh, nice. Oh, well, that's really flattering. Well, I appreciate the fact that you did check it out and that you're here having a good time. That's really flattering. That like genuinely, I know I sound like I'm being facetious because I'm an asshole, but no, that means a lot to me. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right, so let's see here. On any item, you touch a creature. Let's see. You touch a creature. We'll say with the enchanted item, and we'll say and speak the command word. I often do that, so that way it's like not that it just like spazzes out and like the first time you grab it, it'll cast it on you or something like that. And then I just like the idea that someone can like create their own command word. So if someone wants this like super like the super Harry Potter character that has items and they have to speak like you know reparum diseaso, you know, and they have to like do that, they can do that. Or if they're just a complete dickwad and they want to be like, yeah, I pull out the thing and the command word is poopy butt, and they like, yeah, here, take this for your poopy butt, and they do that and make him heal. Like it could be whatever they want, you know. Again, it's all about giving players the ability to like flavor their game however they want, right? It's like that's what this whole project comes from, is giving players the ability to have tangible impacts for whatever flavor they want their character to have. So I like the command word as part of that. But yeah, so speak the command word and can end either one disease or one condition afflicting it. Condition can be blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poisoned. Perfect. Second, most people are, right? It's like there's a time and place for like serious world building, and that's when you're writing a book or a movie that is meant to be a drama. When you're playing D&D, if you're in a good group, it's a bunch of buds just sitting there trying to make each other laugh, and that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Just like sarcasm and butt jokes. Like that's sarcasm, butt jokes, and murder hoboing. That's the holy trinity of D&D. But look, it's as easy as that. So now a sample item for this one. So again, when we're thinking about our second levels, right, these are meant to be sort of like tools for a specialist. So this is something that like a doctor would have, and we can do something like lesser restoration. Well, actually, what we'll say is we'll do this as a glove of lesser restoration, and what we can do for us, we'll say popular among healers. This glove can be worn and used to heal an affliction on whomever the user touches and speaks the command word for. There's just something like that. Like, it's real easy. It doesn't have to be a complicated item, right? I like that. You know, the other one I do really like, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Like, I would love to see a player do something like this. I would love for them to, like, enchant their own breastplate with it. So it's just, like, this naturally healing armor that they have for themselves. I think that would actually be a really cool idea. And I would be totally into it. I wouldn't even think it that selfish. Like, that's just functional right there. Character's never serious. Can play serious character. I feel you. I actually, so, like, as a DM, my style tends to be I write things seriously, and then I'm content with players to get all kinds of wacky and sarcastic with it. Like, I'm totally okay with that. You know, and a lot of that's because, like, my players, I play with friends, and I know that they know how to balance letting me have my serious moments of, like, drama and scene setting and world building, and then, like, you know, then using the humor to break the dramatic tension and stuff like that, you know, the comic relief. But the flip side of that is, because I tend to approach DMing from a more serious writing perspective, so that I can provide players that option for drama if they want. When I have the chance to be a player, 100%, I play just like simple Jack, punches things, doesn't say smart words character. So it's like, all I have to do is be like, I pull out my sword and I hit it as many times as I can. And it's like, that's what my characters are every time. There is no higher thought. There is no complex backstory. The last player character that I made was a barbarian who lost his family. And I don't mean his family died in some horrible tragic thing. I mean, he went out fishing one day and forgot how to get home and just started wandering in the wrong direction, and he lost his family. And he's just been wandering around, you know, or becoming famous as a really good fist fighter. And, like, that's what he does. That's his thing. And there's nothing more complicated than that. And, like, he's not even particularly trying to find his family. He's just kind of more like, maybe if I walk this way for a while, I'll find my family. And he just keeps walking. And, like, that's my character. It's real simple. Nothing complex going on there. No, very Lenny tending the rabbits. That's my go-to character. I don't like to make characters that are super sarcastic, super thinky, or super talky. They're just very simple. They're like, I have my sword, and I am good. Like, I have my sword, I know what I'm good at, and I will do that. And that's what they do. My favorite characters to play. You know, meanwhile, I'm DMing these, like, really complicated, like, enemies that have all these, like, nuanced personalities with all these, like, detailed goals and purposes for doing the things they're doing. You know, and then when I get to be the player, I'm like, I am taking the furthest back seat, and I'm letting everyone else drive the story, and all I'm here to do is to help them achieve whatever goals they want to do through brutalizing bad guys. That's all I do. It's my respite from having to be thinky during D&D. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. All right, let's see here. Sentience curse. So if it's sentient, I really love the idea of an evil thing that just like it'll heal you, like it'll heal the target, but it's just gonna make fun of you for getting hurt. Like it's immediately will make fun of the person being healed. Person, here's what I'm gonna do. This is a little mean, but I think it's hilarious. We'll make fun of the person being healed. Person being healed must make a. We'll make it a. Let's make it a wisdom save. Must make a wisdom save of DC. Just make a DC 12. Doesn't have to be intense. It's level 2, so 10 plus 2, right? Save DC 12, or else take 1d4 of feelings of feelings damage. So it's like it'll heal your ailment, but it's also gonna make you feel bad about it. It's a little more evil than I usually do, but God, that cracks me up. It just cracks me up so bad. Last campaign is Stardew Valley themed. Only did things when she was dragged to do it. Yeah, I like that. I feel that. I love the idea of Stardew Valley though. That sounds really fun. That sounds like it would be such a chill game. Like you're just kind of sitting there and like it's just about, like building up your town around you or something. I guess I'm like putting words in your mouth about what that would end up being, but just like immediately that's what my thought is. It'd be such a chill game. And it's like, the only conflict would be like making sure that neighbor disputes don't get too heated and then protecting from monsters coming from the cave or something. I like that idea. Boy, what a pleasant respite with your friends to do something like that, in the stresses of working full-time jobs and having families and relationships and everything, to just be able to like sit down and be like, my guy's a beet farmer who's particularly good at magic, and he uses that magic to help keep the town safe. Like what a chill thing. I love that idea. I'm into it. All right, so if the thing is good, is like a doting grandmother, smells of strawberries, and also gives 1d4 of healing when the ailment is cured. It's like grandma. I have some campaign notes. I might have to hit you up for that, honestly, just to get ideas from that. Like that would be such a good, because I tend to one of my favorite aesthetics for games, I love to, so my world is a post-apocalyptic one in D&D, in that like it has a very, like it kind of blends the concept of like Attack on Titan with Shadow of the Colossus, where the idea is that there are a few stronghold cities in this world that's gone completely to hell, and there's these big, massive, horrible monsters as well as smaller, dangerous monsters out in the wilds, and it's super dangerous. And so because of that, my campaigns tend to take a turn of like, yeah, you're going through the caves and there's all kinds of horrible, gooey monstrosities. Or like, yeah, you're out in the plains and there's all these like horrible gnolls and everything that control these plains. So they're very dangerous and very, very grim. So it'd be like, that would be a really good way to just like offer a little bit of a reprieve from that in my games. Just like a little change of pace that it's like, you know what? Things are going to be nice. And for this chapter in this campaign, you guys find yourselves in like a small stronghold town that like no one really knew about, and like they just need some help, getting their crops going, and it's like they can just spend some time resting and just like enjoying something lighthearted. That'd be such a good yin to the yang of what I normally write. I like that idea. Yeah, I might have to hit you up for that sometime. I appreciate it. Okay, let's see here. If it's lawful. So if it's lawful, will work best if let's see, it will work best if let's say if used immediately. Well, how do I want to do this? Because my thought is like, if you use the item like and target where the healing takes place in the person, right? So it's like if they're poisoned or something like that, if you find a way to like target the blood, right? If there's like a blood poisoning, if it's paralyzed, like you do the nervous system. If it's deafened, like on the ears or something like that. So it's like, my thought is like, how do you narrow the focus of that? This is one of the reasons why I love this project, because it's like it's a really good it's a really good creative exercise for me to try and figure out how do I turn this into you know, like how do I mold this into what I'm trying to get out of it. So I feel like maybe it's like, okay, here we go. Here's what my thought is. Specializes in one particular ailment, and we'll say chosen during imbibement. Imbibement. There we go. Chosen. So chosen during imbibement. Specializes in one particular ailment chosen during imbibement. Can heal 2 individuals of that imbibement per day. So it's like it's really good at like handling the blindness, and so you can heal 2 people's blindness. You can be Jesus and heal the blind twice in a day instead of once. You know, so it's like it's really focused that way. Hey Stecco, this is we're doing some homebrew D&D writing. We're making a rune, going through. It's an ongoing project of turning spells into runes that can be used for enchantment rather than just as spells, just to add customizability to player characters and all that stuff. And so we're working on the Lesser Restoration spell at the moment. Let's see here. And heal 2 individuals, yeah. And so now if it's chaotic, what we'll do is, okay, so here's what my idea for chaotic is. We'll say heals an ale. We'll also say specializes in one particular. Actually, you know what? Better idea. That's not chaotic. That's lol random. No, chaotic is more so that it impacts like it has a broader effect. It has a broader effect. You could enchant like the bagel of restoration, restorative baking sheets, and you can basically make healing edibles, and you can make bagels that like heal particular ailments. Now that's an item worth making right there. I like that idea. Golly, so I feel like in some way, shape, or form, I want it to impact it impacts multiple people around, but to a lesser effect. So here's what my thought. Here's an idea. Can be used to heal 2 ailments per day. Can be any and can be on 1 or multiple targets. But it is a delayed effect that takes 2 combat. We'll just say that takes 10 seconds to take effect. So it's like it takes 2. I guess we'll make it 12 because each combat round is supposed to be 6 seconds. So it takes 12 seconds to take effect. So it will do it. It will do it, but it takes a minute, right? So it's like it can help multiple people, but it takes a minute to do it because it's like trying to do too much at once. So it's a delayed effect, right? That's what my thought is for it. So it's not exactly chaotic, but like I say, they're kind of loose fits. Person that affected you. I like that. That almost sounds more like a curse. That almost sounds like a good one for the curse. It'll heal you, but it also heals the person who did it to you because it's got the Harry Potter thing going on where it's like, oh, you've been marked, and so the 2 of you are now inextricably combined at the magical proverbial hip. You know, it's like it's when you're now bound to one another forever and ever because this dickhead made you deaf with a really loud noise. I mean, honestly, it could kind of work. No, actually, what I want to do for cursed. Here's what my idea is for the cursed. When healing an ailment, can also do substantial substantial damage healing and what I want to do is like I do want to make it extreme here. I want to make it intense. 3d4 3d4 HP. The problematic side effect is takes energy energy equal to the healing done from the user in order to cause the healing of the ailment and the damage, right? So it's like it's like if you have a glove that does it, it's like it will sap your strength. So it basically, like, the only way it works is it forces you to sacrifice yourself for the person you're trying to heal, you know? And so it's like, again, like, I'm trying to find a way to toe that line where it's like a character would be like, there's probably a character that's willing to take that upon themselves, if like that's what their calling is as a healer. They're willing to do that in battle or something like that to heal the person, and then they have to wait for the long rest to get that stuff back, is what my thought is. And then what it takes to remove, so must be removed magically if user tries to remove or discard the item. It holds itself in place and begins draining health at 2d4. It will say at a rate of 2d4 for each attempt to remove. So it's like if you keep trying to remove it, it'll just like damage you, and like that's what you get for trying to get this thing off. So it's like you like, if you have the glove, it's on and it's there, and if you try to take it off, it's just gonna drain your health. It's like no. We are together. This is what we do now. It's like this is us. There is no removing of me. There's no doing that. Yeah. I think that works. I like it. I like it well enough anyway. You know, I might need a little massaging here and there depending on the user in the campaign, but I think that works. Yeah. Cool. So we got two good items. We got 2 good enchantments and items made. That's pretty good. Especially since I started late today. Hell yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I'm looking at the time, and it's getting time for me to take my little break like I usually do, and then swap over and do some gaming. So let me just go ahead and, for the sake of the VODs here, I'm gonna swap us over. So thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. I appreciate you guys coming by. I'm glad like we had some really awesome involvement today, and I love that. I absolutely love the ideas that you guys are coming up with. It's great stuff. So yeah, if you know, again, thank you so much for stopping by. If you want to see more, you can I put up all my VODs on my YouTube channel. So you can go check out my YouTube channel, EnviroBoy on YouTube. All the VODs are there. So if you want to see other stuff that I made, just go peruse that. Or I mean, like, if you're on YouTube, then like come check me out live. Because the other way you can see me is I do my best to stream every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, at around the same time. 11:30 a.m. this Eastern time zone is when I start my writing, and then 1:30 p.m. Eastern time zone is when I switch over and do some gaming. So you can come check me out. I should be on tomorrow. I don't believe I've got anything, unless, you know, work just comes up with random stuff that gets in the way. Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I like the overlay. I have fun with overlays. I'm a big sucker for the pretty overlays. Like that's kind of one of my things. I love it. So I'm glad you like it too. I agree. It's very pretty. It's very fun. I have different ones for like each game that I play and stuff like that too. It makes it really fun. But yeah, at any rate, I should be back tomorrow. Same time, like I say, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time is when we'll do some writing. So feel free to stop back again. I'd look forward to seeing each and every one of you then. And then, you know, I've got other places you can find me if you want to. I've got my Discord server. You can connect to that, and we can talk more D&D stuff, talk more shop. I always love doing that. It's also, I put announcements about my streams and when I'm going live and all that stuff there. I got Twitter, Enviro Streams on Twitter. Follow me there. Announcements and stupid thoughts that go through my stupid brain. I've got an Instagram, Invited Boy Streams. If you're like curious about like, we were talking a lot about Muay Thai and kickboxing and my upcoming fight and stuff like that. If you're curious about that stuff that I do in my life, I do put a lot of videos and stuff up on my Instagram, so you can check me out there. And that's where you can find me. So yeah, again, thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. I'll leave you here with a little bit of this background music, just so if you want to chill out for a little bit, you can. I'll be back in like 10-15 minutes. We're going to switch over. There'll be a bit of a hiccup where things will go dead for just a second, because I'll be flopping over for the sake of the VODs and everything. But yeah, when I get back from refilling my drink and resting my voice, we're going to be... we're going to go ahead and play some Forza Horizon. I've never played a Forza Horizon. I used to be super duper into Forza. It's been a while since I played a Forza game, but Horizon is where it's at now, apparently. And I have no idea. I haven't even loaded up the game before. So we're going to see what kind of chaos I can get myself into and see how bad I am at racing games again. So if you want to do that, stick around and I'll be back shortly and we can do that. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you the next time you do stop by. Either way, I appreciate all you guys. Y'all are super cool people. And yeah, keep it real. Catch cats on the flip side. I'll be back shortly. So sit tight and I will see you very soon.